Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar on Adobe Marketo-Engage and Workfront. We'll take a look at today's agenda and the content very shortly, but before we do, let me go ahead and introduce our speakers for today's session. My name is Jeremy, and I'm a Senior Customer Adoption Specialist with the team at Adobe, and I'll be your host for today's webinar. I'm delighted to be joined by two incredibly talented experts in Mina and David from Bluprintx. Bluprintx are a global Adobe solution partner with expertise across the entire Adobe Experience Cloud. They've implemented Marketo-Engage over 500 times globally and Workfront over 150 times, so they bring a wealth of experience alongside numerous Adobe accreditations, including Content Supply Chain, which only a few partners hold globally. I'll include some contact details at the end of today's presentation if you're wanting to reach out to Bluprintx to find out more. Now let me introduce our first speaker. David, who will be our Workfront wizard in today's webinar, has been instrumental in driving success for SMEs and global enterprises across the ANZ region and globally. With unparalleled expertise in work management platforms, particularly Adobe Workfront, David stands out as an expert holding multiple certifications in the solution, which we'll see on show today. Alongside David, we have Mina, who will be our Marketo magician in today's webinar. Mina brings a wealth of experience both in region and globally, transforming marketing automation operations. As a certified Adobe Marketo-Engage architect, Mina combines technical excellence with strategic vision to deliver scalable results across complex implementations, integrations, and automation solutions. Thanks both for joining today's session, and I look forward to passing over to you shortly. But before I do, let's take a look at today's agenda and cover off some of the housekeeping items. So the topic of today's webinar is Adobe Marketo-Engage and Workfront, where we'll be uncovering how connecting these two platforms can help your team do more with less. I'm sure you've all heard that term many times over the past few years, and it's a challenge most, if not all, organizations are facing today. This can include things like smaller teams having to handle larger workloads, or disconnected systems creating bottlenecks and manual processes, thus slowing down campaign execution. Today's webinar will reveal solutions that address these pain points head-on. We know that quite a few of you online may be familiar with Marketo-Engage or Workfront, but not necessarily both, or perhaps understand how they can work together. As such, after this quick welcome address, I'll be taking us through a few slides outlining what Marketo-Engage and Workfront do, as well as some of the value these two solutions bring when they're integrated and working together. On that note, we actually have a poll that should be popping up in Zoom very shortly, where we want to hear from you as to whether you're using both Marketo-Engage and Workfront or just one of the solutions. While everyone's popping in their answers, we'll continue on and we'll take a look at the results very shortly. After I run through an overview of Marketo-Engage and Workfront, I'll be handing over to Mina and David, who will spend the majority of today's session demoing Marketo-Engage and Workfront based on the use case around a team wanting to send a newsletter out which has multiple content updates needed before executing. After these topics, we'll wrap up today's session with a short Q&A where we'll ask Mina and David any questions that have popped up throughout the presentation. If you can keep your questions till then, that would be greatly appreciated. However, if you can't wait, feel free to pop them in the chat window ahead of time. Those that we may run out of time to address will be taken away to get back to you from a member of the Bluprintx team. And just having a look at some of those poll results that have come through. So we've got 22% of attendees that use Marketo-Engage solely. And then we have 78% of our attendees that actually use both Marketo-Engage and Workfront. So some interesting statistics there. And hopefully you'll be able to get a lot out of today's session based on what we'll be covering in terms of these two solutions working well together and the value and business challenges that they can help answer. So thanks very much for filling out that particular poll. Off the back of today's webinar, we hope this will give you greater insight into how these two solutions work with one another, and more importantly, how they can help you address some key business challenges, including disconnected marketing campaign planning and execution due to multiple disconnected platforms, slow time to market due to manual processes or bottlenecks, lack of campaign visibility or collaboration across teams, which can lead to miscommunication or duplicated efforts, manual or error-prone processes during campaign planning and execution, and the inability to view holistic campaign reporting from the planning phase all the way through to execution. Lastly, this session is being recorded, so you'll receive a follow-up email after the event with a link to the recording. With that, let me go ahead and jump into an overview of Marketo-Engage and Workfront. Before we dive into the specifics of each solution, it's important to understand the broader context of where these tools sit within the Adobe Experience Cloud ecosystem. Adobe has evolved from offering best-in-class individual applications to delivering a unified ecosystem that combines applications and services, all designed to support the full customer journey. All of our applications fit into one of three categories, being either content, commerce, and workflows, data insights and audiences, or customer journeys. And this is where Marketo-Engage and Workfront come in. They're not just standalone tools, they're part of a connected ecosystem that enables marketing teams to plan, execute, and measure campaigns with greater speed, precision, and impact. So with that foundation in mind, let's now zoom in on how these two platforms work together to transform campaign operations. Let's start by diving into Adobe Marketo-Engage, which serves as a centralized marketing hub for orchestrating and executing cross-channel campaigns. It's designed to help marketing teams acquire, nurture, expand, and retain customers, especially across complex B2B, but also B2C considered purchase buying journeys. Marketo-Engage delivers efficiency, scale, and growth through 6 core capabilities. Marketing data environment brings together individual and account profiles, integrating seamlessly with CRM and other data sources. It gives marketers a complete view of their audience for precise targeting and personalization. Content personalization leverages AI and sophisticated rules where Marketo-Engage can dynamically adapt content to customer behavior, thus enabling one-to-one personalization at scale. Cross-channel engagement, so from a single hub, marketers can coordinate campaigns across email, ads, social, events, and even direct mail, ensuring consistent messaging across all touchpoints. Lead management and nurture, where sophisticated triggers and scoring models automate the journey, moving prospects through the funnel efficiently and intelligently. Sales partnership keeps sales teams in the loop with real-time alerts, prioritize leads, and recommended content so that they can engage prospects at the right time with the right message. And finally, marketing analytics, where Marketo-Engage provides deep insights into campaign performance, pipeline contribution, and ROI, helping marketers prove and optimize their impact. Together, these capabilities make Marketo a powerful engine for driving demand and delivering measurable results. Adobe Workfront, on the other hand, is a work management platform purpose-built for marketing teams. It helps organizations plan, manage, and execute work in one connected system, bringing visibility, structure, and efficiency to every stage of the campaign lifecycle. Workfront is built around 3 core capabilities. Planning, which includes campaign planning, centralized plan management, and marketing governance. Teams can align on strategy, manage metadata, and visualize timelines through campaign calendars. Workflow, which streamlines work management with tools for demand intake, resource allocation, asset review, and approvals. It ensures that everyone knows what needs to be done, by whom, and by when. And finally, automation and integration. Workfront connects seamlessly with tools like Adobe Creative Cloud and Marketo-Engage, which we'll see shortly. It supports automation templates and custom integrations to eliminate manual tasks and accelerate delivery. From intake to execution, Workfront provides visibility, accountability, and control, helping marketing teams stay aligned, reduce those bottlenecks, and deliver campaigns at a much faster rate. When combined with Marketo-Engage, Workfront becomes the strategic backbone that connects planning with execution, ensuring that every campaign is not only launched efficiently, but also aligned with business goals. Let's now take a closer look at how Marketo-Engage and Workfront come together to optimize the entire campaign supply chain, from intake all the way through to execution and measurement. We often hear that campaign requesters don't always understand the full scope of what's required to execute a marketing campaign. This can lead to incomplete briefs, misaligned expectations, and delays. With Workfront, we solve this by using structured forms that ensure all necessary details are captured right from the beginning. Instead of juggling requests or updates across emails, chats, and spreadsheets, everything is centralized. And once the request is in, Marketo-Engage steps in with its powerful cloning and tokenization capabilities to automatically generate campaigns, thus saving time and reducing errors. Next, we move into the proof and approval stage. Workfront connects directly with both Adobe Creative Cloud and Marketo-Engage, allowing teams to collaborate on creative assets, manage feedback, and approve content all in one location. This not only speeds up the process, but also increases visibility and accountability. And finally, when it comes to reporting and auditing, the integration shines. You can connect campaign performance metrics from Marketo-Engage with cost and resource data in Workfront. This gives you a clear view of ROI, helps with compliance, and enables better decision-making. The result, a more agile, efficient, and transparent campaign process that empowers your teams to focus on strategy and creativity instead of chasing down approvals or duplicating work. I know my last slide was a little heavy, so let's take a look at some of the key benefits and value which Marketo-Engage and Workfront bring when working together. Marketo-Engage is the #1 marketing automation platform for demand marketers. It offers robust lead management, cross-channel orchestration, and intelligent nurturing capabilities. On the other hand, Workfront is the leading work management solution for marketing teams, which helps organizations plan, manage, and execute work in one system. Together, they streamline the entire design to delivery workflow. You can manage digital assets, automate campaign creation, and ensure brand consistency, all while accelerating time to market, reducing errors and duplicate efforts. The result, faster campaign launches, improved content quality, and ultimately a better use of your team's time and talent, helping you do more with less. This integration empowers marketing teams to scale their efforts, improve collaboration, and deliver measurable results faster and more efficiently than ever before. Now that we've covered an overview of Marketo-Engage and Workfront, what they do individually, and the challenges they can help you address when integrated, I'm going to pass over to Mina and David, who will set the scene on the upcoming demo. With that, over to you, Mina and David.
Thank you, Jeremy. We'll jump straight into the demo, starting off with our use case for today. Just jump over into our first slide. So today we'll be looking at our Bluprintx monthly newsletter. David and I chose this as our use case for today to showcase the powerful integration between Marketo and Workfront. The newsletter campaign typically is quite a repetitive process to set up, but with Workfront, we'll be showcasing how a full year of newsletters can basically be spun up in Marketo via Workfront, using a combination of tokenized Marketo, emails, and a brilliantly simple form in Workfront that kicks off this process. So here is an example of the Workfront request form, which allows the user to fill in all the details for every part of the email, which is fully tokenized in different modules of the email. So that includes the banner images, the intro text, the articles, links to the posts, so everything from top to bottom. This person does not need to have any experience in using Marketo, and they can simply follow the prompts to put in that information. As you can see, every field in the request form fully and directly relates to a tokenized area within the newsletter email, and it will populate those once the form is submitted. So just to sort of touch on the pain points again that Jeremy has raised already, key pain points that we see that this sort of setup solves is a time-consuming Marketo program setup for repetitive campaigns such as this one, slow approval processes for the actual content, for the email itself, lack of visibility across campaigns, and also limited access to Marketo emails for approval. So having to export emails, attach it to an, say an Outlook email and then wait on the response, as opposed to having an integrated view where people can actually mark up their responses in the one portal. So some personas for our use case today. We've got Rob, who's our marketing manager. He'll raise the request for a new newsletter campaign. We've got David, the campaigns manager, who's responsible for prioritization, scheduling, resourcing for this particular program. We've got Megan, who's going to prepare the actual newsletter content. And we've got Mina, the comms manager, who will approve the newsletter before it is published to the audience. These are just personas. These are not their real roles. We're just using them for this newsletter use case. So before I do jump into the Marketo setup and then pass on to David for the Workfront side of things, I just wanted to talk to this screen, which shows us the view in Adobe Fusion and Adobe Workfront, which allows people to set up the process and have a predefined process before kicking off something like this newsletter use case, where we can essentially set up all the approvals processes, where it needs to go, back to Marketo, back to Workfront, and we can see here quite clearly that the two systems, among others, are talking to each other in that time. And this view is quite accessible to all marketing users of any technical experience. So I guess the main point here is that you don't need to be a developer to be able to use this tool. You'll be able to drag and drop using this kind of setup, and it makes it quite accessible to all team members of the marketing team. I will jump into the Marketo program itself for our use case, just to give you a bit of a taste of what will be created from the Workfront side of things. So we've got a monthly newsletter program, which inside of that is fully tokenized in our My Token section. So if you're very much across Marketo, this will be quite familiar to you. And the email itself sitting in here with all the tokens. So it's a pretty basic email send program with lots of tokens. We've got our cohort list already in our campaigns area, and everything is set out ready to go for Workfront to call on. So at this point, I will pass to David to show us the Workfront side of things, and just click here. Yep.
Thank you, Mina. Everyone, what you're looking at now is Workfront. And to start our workflow today, I'm going to log in as Rob, our marketing manager, who's going to raise the marketing request for the monthly newsletter. I'm logging in. Rob is a presenter with a number of dashboards he uses to manage his work day in, day out. But in this case, we're going to navigate to the top right-hand corner and click on Requests, click on New Request, and we have a queue for all our BPX newsletters. And I'm going to start populating some of the questions that are being asked of me, starting with a subject, which is going to be the actual name of this request. And in our workflow today, this will actually also become the name of our project, as well as be part of the naming convention that we're using for the program that will be created in Marketo. We're being prompted for the name of a lead that we can use when the proof is generated of the email. and some other questions for some of the other content that will be consistent across every month that this particular newsletter goes out. So email banner URL, mobile banner URL, and privacy policy as well. And optionally, we could also attach various documents from various sources in support of our request if required. Now, before I continue, in today's workflow, when I click on submit, what will happen is the automation will automatically create the project for us. That's very unusual. Usually for most of our clients, we build out a triage whereby it's either configured or dynamically created using automation so that the necessary teams can review and approve the request before the actual project is created. So I'm going to click on submit. All right. So the automation is kicking in the background to actually create our project based on this request. Looking at the top left-hand side of the screen, I'm going to click on Marketing Manager's dashboard, and from here, Rob can keep an eye on all his marketing requests, and on the right-hand side, actually see when the project's actually going to be planned to start and to be completed, as well as the status of the project, as well as the progress status as well. Okay, I'm going to log out, and I've logged in now as David, the campaigns manager, who is responsible for scheduling the projects as well as resourcing the projects. At the top of the screen, David's going to click on his dashboard. In the My Projects section of the dashboard, it shows all the projects that he is managing. And this dashboard has actually been customized to highlight any projects that are in the planning status, meaning these are new projects and they're under planning. They need to be scheduled. They need to be resourced before we enable them to be in-flight projects, in-progress projects. I'm going to open up the project. So this is the project that's just been created for us by the automation. Now let's talk about a few things that have been done for us. Looking at the left-hand side, going to project details. If I go down to the customer newsletter section of the project, it shows us that it's copied over everything from the request that was created by Rob. Looking at the project name, that's the same name as the request. On the right-hand side, you'll see that the owner of the project manager, is David. This has come from a pre-configured project template. And that project template also contains all the necessary tasking that we require for our newsletter projects. Now, from this particular view, which is a simple table view, if I wanted to, I could go ahead and start assigning the tasks to people. I could also, start scheduling the tasks if I wanted to as well. But there are features built specifically for example, scheduling, such as the Gantt chart view. The Gantt chart view is pretty useful because you can dynamically schedule and reschedule, tasks in this view. Okay. And when it comes to resourcing, there are also a variety of features for resourcing, including looking at the left-hand side, the workload balancer. The workload balancer is something that can actually be used to schedule work across all your projects. But in this case, we're just focused on this particular project. And I've already pre-configured this view so that in the top section, it shows us unassigned work where we need a copywriter. And down the bottom, we have those people that are our copywriters that are available for this particular project. And I'm simply going to click and drag and assign the work to Megan. There's a lot more to resource management, to say the least, within Workfront, but that's just to give you a taste. Going back to our tasks, you can now see in this view that Megan is assigned to prepare the newsletter content. And in the top right-hand corner, I'm going to change the status from planning to current. Whilst the project is in planning, those that are on the project that are, for example, assigned to tasks, they're not going to be bothered with any notifications. But as soon as we make the status of the project current in progress, you will get all the important notifications within Workfront. Okay, I'm now going to log in as Megan, our copywriter. She's going to prepare our content for the June newsletter. And on logging in the top left-hand corner, we're going to go to one of her dashboards that shows all her active tasks. And there is a new task that's been assigned to her, prepare newsletter content for this particular project, for this particular edition of the newsletter. And on the right-hand side, it shows her, by when she needs to complete this work. We're going to open up the task and edit the task and go to the newsletter content section. Now, this has just been pre-populated to speed things up for us today. But everything that you see here is going to be used on the email. It's going to be sent over to Marketo and to populate the tokens that are then used on the actual email. And the month name, for example, that's going to be another part of the name of the program within Marketo. Scroll down further. There's up to 3 articles that are supported in this particular newsletter. Article headlines, introductory text, CTA button label, article URL, and image URL as well. So we have support up to 3 articles on this newsletter. Okay, once the content is ready, Megan is going to change the status to create newsletter sample. Okay. And this is where the automation is going to kick in for us once again. It's going to do a number of things for us. I'm just going to open up the project again. Now, this will take about 5 more seconds, roughly. Okay. So one of the first things we're actually going to see is that the status of the tasks are going to be updated for us by the automation. Let me just refresh my screen again. No, it's taking a bit longer. So in a moment, what's going to happen is that this task here, prepare newsletter content, the status is going to be changed to complete, and the approved newsletter task is going to become in progress. So what the automation has done, we'll see very shortly in the background, it's actually generated an email sample, uploaded it to this task here, and generated a proof within Workfront. And Mina is the one that's going to be, as our communications manager, will review and approve that newsletter. Okay, so let me refresh the screen again. And as you can see, the status has been updated as I described. And the program has been created within Marketo. So let me pull that up. Okay. So what Mina showed you earlier was what the program we're using as the template. And the automation has just created this new program in this folder here, Marketo Matters Newsletters. And you can see the project name or the request name is now part of the name of the program, and also, it's the June newsletter in this case. And if I click on My Tokens, all that content is being pushed through onto the tokens within Marketo. Okay, so I'm going to log out now, and we're going to start our review and approval process of that email asset. I'm going to log in as Mina, our communications manager. And on logging in, it's taken us straight to his one of his dashboards. And you can see that there's a new file in Workfront called email sample. And from here, we can actually click and open up the proof and do our proofing and make a decision on this email. Now, we can make it look a lot better. It doesn't have to be a URL. We can make it look nicer based on your requirements. In this case, I'm just going to click on the URL. Now, there are two places you can do proofing in Workfront. You can do it within the browser itself, or in this case, I've actually installed the proofing app on my desktop, and slowly but surely it's bringing across the email sample, and it's preparing it so I can do my proofing. It's almost there, almost there. Here we go. Okay, so what the automation has done is grab the email, for the lead that we've chosen to actually, present the email sample for our review and approval. Now, for some reason, the image has not popped up. What I might do is very quickly shut that down. I'm going to reopen it. So we see the full email. Okay. Yeah, and proofing supports various types of documents, even videos, websites, something we call interactive proofing. So there's very broad support for whatever you may need to review and approve. So this is our email. And I'll just click and drag through. This is all the content that's been populated, the URLs, etc. Okay. All right. So as Mina, I'm now going to proceed and actually mark up this proof so you can get familiar with some of the functionality that's available. We're going to start by clicking on Add a Comment. And the first markup I'm going to do is going to be like this, with a comment to replace logo. Now, the reason I'm using this as an example is just to highlight that in support of any comments you put on a proof, you can actually attach documents together with your comments if that is helpful. Okay, now I'm going to add another comment. In this case, I'm going to mention Megan, the copywriter, straight away and say, let's review this. Now, as soon as I click on post, Megan will receive this notification as quickly as she wants to receive such notifications. And from here, she can actually open the proof directly and actually collaborate with Mina on the proof, together. They can see each other's comments dynamically and collaborate that way. Okay, let's move forward to a decision on this proof. And the decision this time is going to be changes required. And we're going to see how the automation is going to populate. We're going to make some changes to the content, and the automation is going to update Marketo with the revised content. So click on changes required. Okay, I'll log out. All right, I'm going to log in as Megan because changes are required. And top of the screen, Megan clicks on her dashboard. The automation has finished, and what it's done is actually updated her task for the June newsletter to a status of changes required. So that's why that task is now appearing in her dashboard. And we've customized this dashboard to highlight such tasks in red so that they stand out. Now, just to illustrate how in Workfront you can do the same thing in a variety of ways, I'm just going to show how in this case, I'm going to actually edit the task as a pop-up, directly from the dashboard. Navigate down to the content, and just so you see the difference, I'm just going to keep this simple and just change the word revenue to caps, so that in a moment when Mina looks at the new version, the revised version of this email, you'll actually see the differences between the original proof and the latest proof. Now, one more thing I need to do is change the status like before to create newsletter sample. And I'll just click on save. Okay, So the automation is kicked in again, and what the automation is doing is taking all that content and populating those tokens again, and a new version of the proof is being generated. I'm going to log out as Megan, and I'm going to log back in as our communications manager, Mina. Okay. All right. And as you can see, we've got another version of the proof has already been generated. Let's open that up. Okay. Let's try that again. Click and open the actual proof this time instead of just the preview within Workfront. So it's just opening up on my desktop at the moment. Okay, so it's loading up the new version of the email. Almost there. Okay, so this is now the new version of this email. And if we wanted to, we could compare to the previous version or any previous version by clicking here. Okay. All right. And okay, well, even the image has been changed, so a few changes have happened. And we can also see the original comments and markups on the previous proof, and we can do the same on the new proof. And if I scroll down here, just to prove things are working as I explained, you can see how revenue is now in capitals. Just a simple example to illustrate the content has been updated. Okay, so as Mina he's happy with this email, so the next step is just to make a decision of approved. Let's make the decision. Okay. And once again, the automation is kicked in, and I'm going to navigate in a moment back to our project. Okay. And the final thing the automation has done for us today is simply to update for the June newsletter the preparation task and the approval task to complete. And it has updated actually approved that email asset on that program within Marketo as well. Okay. All right, so that's our demo for today. Just illustrating a fairly straightforward workflow and the possibilities between Workfront and Marketo and what can be automated. I'm just going to finish off by just highlighting some other obvious things that would be logical and we have automated for clients. Okay. So the first one is campaign scheduling from Workfront. So if you think about the workflow we just presented, logically, the next thing probably would be to actually schedule the email to go out in Marketo. Well, what if you think about it, you may have an organization that has hundreds or thousands of emails that need to go out. It's usually quite a manual job to decide when a particular email needs to be sent out and then go into Marketo to actually schedule it. Well, why not get automation to do that for you? Calculate the right date, the right time for the particular audience, considering the content, and also update the Marketo program to be scheduled at that time and date. Another idea for automation, number 2, clear ownership with RASI compliance in Workfront. Think about the workflow I presented. It can be a lot more complicated than that, obviously. But the whole, in terms of who's responsible for what, you can pre-configure that in Workfront, or even better, very often we build out a lot of automation to do that automatically for you to make sure all the responsibilities are taken care of by just the right person. Point 3, audience targeting, segment selection driven from Workfront and CRM. Typically, you would go into Marketo to nominate your audience for particular campaign. You could obviously drive that from Workfront or even your CRM. Number 4, marketing performance reporting in Workfront for delivery insights, engagement, ROI, and attribution. Pull all that data back to Workfront. Okay, so that's our demo for today and some other ideas for automation. So I'm now going to hand over back to Mina. Mina, if you could share your screen and continue with your part.
Yep, thank you. Cool. So just to touch on, I guess, the pain points that we've dealt with in this demo, we've been able to send out a timely newsletter, which then leads to greater impact. So we've sent it out on schedule. We've boosted relevance and effectiveness. So essentially, if you've saved time and got the newsletter out when the blogs are relevant, that helps in terms of engagement and relevance moving forward. So how did we actually do this? So essentially, we've saved time and removed hassle from the actual approval process. So that's obviously removed a lot of our really timely pieces of work. Essentially, the main part or one of the key parts is our planning and briefs section. So as you can see in this screenshot here, people can't move on to the next part of the brief before the first part has been filled in. So often we might see a brief come through, but there's no due date. So having all the pieces of information before the team needs to start working on things can really save a lot of time and back and forth between different teams and different stakeholders within an organization. We've also been able to spot and solve bottlenecks fast. So we've got very clear visibility on full campaigns throughout the process, so that if something is stuck on a certain person, someone's on leave, we're able to flag that and ensure that the process is moved on. So just a quick screenshot from Workfront as well on that. We get a bit of a status update on how things are going with the classic sort of green, amber, and red. To see where things are moving, where things are blocked, and where things are going well. So that can really give all stakeholders a great view on how things have gone and also understand if things in real time are being blocked. So again, project prioritization here, you can see every sort of stage of the process and essentially move things if they need to be moved, if there are those blockers. Essentially, what we'd like to showcase here is an example of a customer who has used Workfront with Marketo and show how that has saved a lot of time for them. So as you can see here, they've got the same old workflow and new workflow, so 800 plus emails in both. But as you can see, the old workflow took 16 hours to deliver just the single email. The new workflow just took 10 hours, so the saving was 6. And if you multiply that across many days per year, and then the actual cost of that per that person spending the time on those emails, you can see that's been quite exponential in terms of what's been saved, both from a time perspective and also as a result, the money perspective as well. So being able to save time on these back and forth and all the sort of pain points, which I think we're all quite across, and we've been, exporting Marketo emails for some time, having something like Workfront, which passes this through automatically and gives everyone the view that they need at the right time, at the right part of the process, will really sort of help streamline processes moving forward. Just to touch on a couple more points in terms of Bluprintx specifically and how we work with Adobe Workfront and Adobe Marketo. We're a content supply chain solution partner. So we're one of less than 10 companies globally. There's rapid deployment partner solution as well for both Marketo and Workfront. And we're a gold solution partner. We've been working with these two solutions for quite some time, and being able to, I guess, unlock that integration between them and find new ways to integrate them as well can be really powerful to save time for your teams and help move things along a lot faster. So I'll pass back to Jeremy.
Perfect. Thank you very much, both. Let me just make sure I'm sharing my right screen. Alrighty. So thanks very much, both Mina and David, for taking us through the demo of Marketo-Engage and Workfront. It's really cool to see what these two solutions can do when integrated and working together. I'd now like to ask anyone who may have questions to please pop them in the Q&A window, which I know a few of you have been doing already. Thank you very much. We'll spend some time running through as many of these as we can with the time that we have left. While you're typing in any of those questions, a couple of other points to note. If there are any other questions you have off the back of today's session around the demo, around Marketo-Engage and Workfront, please reach out to Nora from Bluprintx, whose email address is on my screen now. Additionally, if you are coming along to Adobe ANZ Summit in Sydney on Tuesday, the 1st of July, which is where we'll be covering some of the biggest announcements coming to all of our products, Bluprintx will have a booth set up, so be sure to swing by and say hello. It'll be a great opportunity to chat with the experts, especially in relation to what we've seen on show today from both Mina and David. Now, let's go ahead and, oops, go back a slide and let me get the Q&A up if I can. I might actually stop sharing for a moment so I can get the Q&A window up. Bear with me for a moment. All righty. So having a look at some of the questions that have come through, and I'm going to put these questions to both you, Mina and David. The first question was from Jasmine around, can this process, so in terms of the proofing, I think it was at the point when you were sort of proofing and highlighting certain components within the email asset, can this process be applied to dynamic content blocks within an email as well?
I guess that would be for me. Yes, well, you can, absolutely. The way to think about it is, as long as we can provide all that content collectively together to generate the proof within Workfront, you could actually proof an entire website dynamically. It's what we call interactive proofing. Now, how we would do it with an email? Well, we'd have to see how we pull together the email that is in Marketo, and obviously the external links are somewhere else. So you just have to look at how we solution and bring that all together to create effectively one proof that is then generated within Workfront. But yeah, in terms of proofing interactive content like that, absolutely possible.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And I guess off the back of that question, or sort of in relation to it, how do lead tokens work within copy? So are they manually added into the copy in Workfront, or is there a way that they can sort of be pulled in?
Yeah, so with the, sorry, am I still, okay. With the lead information, so in this example, all the lead related tokens are on the actual email template. In terms of how we generate the sample, you can just generate a sample without a lead, or we can generate an email sample by passing the lead to actually populate that lead data on the email. I hope I've addressed the question adequately.
Perfect. I think that's a great response. And again, if there are any other questions that come through, feel free to pop them in the Q&A window. So we'll keep getting through some of these questions. Another one that's come through is, does the proof need a templated email to create a proof? So how will Marketo know which modules to use for the content coming from Workfront? Or is there only one layout that Marketo can work with for this?
We can build this out to support any number of programs that you may decide to use as a template with Marketo. But to get to your specific question, there's a lot that can be done to dynamically create assets within Marketo using automation. So that API just continues to grow and grow in terms of what we can do. You know, at the end of the day, the email, for example, that is HTML. So, you know, that a lot of that can be built out dynamically, you know, the template itself. In this example, obviously it's pre-built, but there's a lot that can be done to build that email asset out for you dynamically.
Perfect. Awesome. Let's move on to the next question. So can the links included in the emails be reviewed in proofing? For example, might be article links, registration links to for an event, or iCalendar files.
Yeah, absolutely. And this goes hand in hand with my earlier answer, which is as long as we can, you know, pull everything together, including external content, into one proof, all of that can be interactively, you know, reviewed and marked up. And going back to my earlier example, at the end of the day, we're just dealing with HTML pages. As long as we can pull all that together into one proof, you can click through it like you're, you know, like it's a real thing. You know, the email, the external links, view the external links. As long as it's part of that proof, you can definitely do that.
Perfect. Thanks very much, David. And we'll move on to the next question. So we've got two more. The last one I'll look to answer, but the second last question, what's the level of effort on setting up all the templatization on both sides? So are you able to give a bit of a ballpark in terms of the upfront effort and maybe where that sort of occurs? And that may be a difficult question to ask, but maybe to you sort of David and Mina.
Yeah, I can definitely talk about the Workfront side of things. If you think about what I presented today, we're just talking about, you know, and assuming the automation has been designed to cater to it, you know, we can build out the automation so basically it works out for any program. And you know, the effort involved for, say, a particular you know, program like a, you know, webinar, whatever the case may be, SMS campaign, whatever, we're just talking about a few hours, you know, to build out the what we call the custom forms within Workfront to capture that information. So at least from a Workfront side, we're just talking about a few hours potentially to build that out. But ultimately, it comes down to the whole, you know, architecture, the whole design of what we build out for you. Obviously, the more scalable it is, the faster it's going to be to deploy, you know, another, you know, let's call it campaign type within Marketo.
Yeah. I was just going to say, from a Marketo perspective, yes, like it would also take a few hours to set up, for example, this newsletter with all the tokens. So I guess the time is really in the initial setup, but then you see that multiplied across, you know, using that throughout the year. I'd say even if it's sort of more than those 3 hours, we can see that, you know, that will sort of multiply throughout the year or whenever you're using this same template over time. That just saves a lot of time. So yes, initially tokenizing a full email and sort of testing and making sure everything is working can take a sort of chunk of time, but the idea is that you'll then be able to reuse that. So it's the use case here is really for things that are being done multiple times as opposed to using this for a once-off sort of send.
Application. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Awesome. Thanks very much, both. The next question was around whether or not we've got a link for a registration link for Adobe Summit. So good question there, V. I'll follow up with you off the back of today's webinar with some more information around that. But for everyone on the call, if you want more information, including a registration link to Adobe Summit, my recommendation would be to reach out to your Adobe account manager. And the reason for this is because with the registrations for Adobe Summit, everyone needs a unique link to register for it this time round. But good question there, V. We've got a couple more questions. How are we going for time? We might look to answer the sort of last couple of questions that have come through from Kay, and then we'll wrap up. So Kay's question is, does this mean that each module in Marketo will need a corresponding custom form in Workfront? Or is it, I presume the sort of question is, or can you have a sort of a singular Workfront form that caters to all sort of modules within an email?
Yeah, it comes down to how scalable the design is that we build from the beginning. But yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, no, it wouldn't be a custom form for every module. Plus, it depends how much customization do you want to support. You think about Marketo interface has been developed over several decades, right? You can do a lot in terms of customize what you can customize your assets. So the question is, well, how much do you want to do that in Workfront? Would determine how it's built out. But yeah, definitely wouldn't be one custom form per module, like unless, yeah, I don't know how complicated you may want to make it, the customization Workfront. This is something I'd recommend we walk through, have a very practical conversation about how much do you really want to kind of drive from Workfront, given that Workfront is a work management platform. Marketo is built for what it does over decades. So we just have to have a practical conversation to get the right design for you.
Perfect. Thank you very much to both of you for answering those questions. I am cautious of time. So if there are any other questions that have come through in the Q&A that we haven't got to, as I said at the beginning of the webinar, we'll look to take those away and get back to you in a follow-up email. So thank you very much both to David and Mina, and in fact, the entire Bluprintx team for putting together a great agenda and fantastic content. Additionally, thanks to all of you online for joining today's session. One other quick call out, it would be greatly appreciated if you could please complete a quick 2-minute survey, which will show at the end of the webinar in about 60 seconds. This will help us get an idea of how we can improve these sessions moving forward. With that, thanks everyone for attending. Look forward to seeing you online during the next one, or indeed at Adobe ANZ Summit in Sydney if you're coming along. Thanks again and have a great day.